Hey everybody, it's Abby Glassenberg from Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday. It is bright and sunny here in the Boston area. And today we're going to do our member spotlight, which we get to do every single Wednesday, where we drop in on a Craft Industry Alliance member and learn more about their business and maybe a little bit about their journey. Sometimes we get to see inside their studio. So today we're going to be talking with Alex Tinsley. And Alex actually, I know, was on kind of an Instagram hiatus, but she is joining us. So just to drop in and say hello to us today. And Alex is a wonderful graphic designer, and she really specializes in working with.
Hello.
Alex, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I was just saying you've been on like an Instagram hiatus, but we're really
Yeah.
grateful that you joined us today, even though you've been off of Instagram.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about this when I was like, I'm leaving for a year, but it's good.
Well,
It's
good for
good.
you. Well, I'm glad you're back just for us. And tell us a little bit about your business currently, and then we'll kind of backtrack and talk about how you got to where you are
Sure.
now.
So my business has a lot of tentacles at the moment. Wild Hunt, which is the account that I'm on and was until recently everything, is mostly nature themed and kind of memey and goofy merch, pins, patches, that kind of thing, stickers. I have a sub brand that's more focused on craft called Ypsilanti Dry Goods, which is kind of just underneath the Wild Hunt umbrella. And then I also do brand identities, which I would say probably about 60% for craft based companies. And I actually just moved that into its own thing. So that's now Inland Sea Creative. And everything has its own name now. I don't have much of that stuff to show you guys today because it's, all on the computer screen. But if you go to my bio, there is a link there if you want to check any of that out. I work with a lot of yarn shops and yarn companies and stuff like that, which, as I'm sure we'll talk about, my background is in the knitting industry for many years. So no matter what I do, the knitters kind of follow me. And I
So
love it.
tell us a little bit about how you got into creating patches and stickers and pins and things like that, and as well as doing brand identity for knitting-based businesses. So what was the path that led here?
So I started knitting, I think, my senior year of high school, and I was selling things on Etsy, like right at the beginning, kind of Etsy in the early aughts. And then when Ravelry came about, I started designing, and so I was a knitwear pattern designer for many years. And then in 2015, I kind of just hit burnout on the knitting design. I remember Ravelry did a survey showing like how much designers were making, and
Yeah.
I was like, I realized I was in like the top 5% and still making like $20,000 a year, which is not enough to live on. And I was like, I have got to pivot.
Yeah, interesting.
And for whatever reason, I had a friend who was making enamel pins, and I was like, that looks fun. Like, I was interested in surface pattern design, and I still am, kind of, but I just never put my full energy into it. I kind of got sidetracked by enamel pin design, and they were definitely like having a big moment at that time too. So I started doing that, and it was great. And I ended up working for the company that I was using to make my enamel pins for a few years. And then in end of 2021, I think, I left that company and just wanted to go back to doing my own kind of thing and revisit illustration, revisit surface design. And I ended up teaching myself how to do brand identities, which has been a lot of fun. I still do the merch, and I do a lot of freelance like merch designs for other people as well
Like
as the brand
that's
identity stuff.
yes.
But I'm definitely someone who like, I'm a little ADD. I want to do a million things. So brand identity was like a great focus for me because I get to work on like this pretty project and then this totally different pretty project and then this one,
Yeah, I
So
should
it's
grab
served me
while
well.
we're here. I should grab some of the stickers that you designed for us because as we were getting ready to exhibit at H&H, we had a couple. I have all three of them right here, so let me just grab them. I had you design a few stickers for us to give away as merch in our booth. So this one I love. This is support your local yarn store, if you can't read that backward. And then this one is support your local quilt shop. These were super popular. And then we also have our craftrovert, like an introvert sticker. So these are three things Alex designed for us. And so I was going to ask about brand identity, because I think that, you know, myself included, when you first kind of get started in a business, you might not necessarily have a brand identity. Maybe you have a logo that you make, or, you know, maybe pay somebody to make for you, but not necessarily the whole comprehensive package. So can you explain a little bit about like what is in a package like that?
Yeah. So my like very basic package is you get several forms of your logo. So you've got like the main version, but you also want to have a version that can work horizontally. Make sure you have one that can work vertically. Sometimes I'll do like a circular one or like a badge. So you'll get a couple versions of your logo, and then you get brand marks as well, which are just additional images. A lot of times a monogram, sometimes a little graphic, just other little accent things. And those are good for like when the person seeing it already knows what brand they're dealing with. Like think of like the designer handbags with like the logos printed all over. That's like a kind of a brand mark situation. Then you get your full color palette, typography. I think I should know this. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the basics. That gets you started, and then there's a lot of kind of a la carte add-ons, and then also a larger package which has things like merch, business cards, postcards, social media graphics, social media templates, kind of whatever you need. Like I can fit it in there for you.
This is so that when you're sending out, let's just say, a newsletter, the recipient immediately visually knows who this is from without reading anything. Like they just can see right away, this is from your business. And then if you give out your business card at a trade show, it matches that. And then if you create an Instagram story and someone just sees it, you know, for 10 seconds, it still matches that. So it always matches, and it, without being boring, like, you know, it's got consistent font, consistent colors, consistent graphics, and even tone of voice and the way you talk about things in your business and your values. It's all kind of tied together. But in the end, it's like, we know this is you because we can see it visually.
Right. Yeah, I like to use like the Tiffany blue as an example. Like if you see Tiffany blue, or like even like Victoria's Secret hot pink, like you kind of know right away who you're dealing with. Especially, I don't know if Victoria's Secret still uses those pink stripes, but for a minute, we're like, oh yeah, you know what store that person went to. It doesn't need a logo on the bag.
Right, exactly. And that brand, it's really important for establishing who you are. And although it might seem easy to create some of these things, it's actually not easy to make them really sophisticated and beautifully designed. There's a lot of, I mean, I learned a tiny bit about like typography and fonts, and just like the way that letters interact and interlock with one another, and the finessing you can do there. You know, it's not just as easy as typing out your name and putting it in a blue circle and being done. Like there's actually a lot of design work that goes into creating something like this where it really looks professional.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I probably spend several hours just looking at fonts for every client, because there's so many good fonts, and you just gotta find like the one that captures it perfectly and is also well designed in itself, because I don't design my own fonts generally. That's like a whole other discipline.
Yeah, for sure. And this is when you're selling online in particular, this is really important, because you have like just a few seconds to build trust among a consumer who may be visiting your website for the first time, maybe from a Pinterest link or an Instagram bio link. They've landed there, and their question immediately is like, do I trust this company? Are they going to send me what they say they're going to send me? Is it going to be good when I get it? Is it going to be worth my money? And they're going to just look immediately. And if it in some way doesn't look so trustworthy, they just click away. And there's many, many other options out
Mm.
there for everything. So that it's really, really important along with your photography and your copywriting. But this brand identity piece is super important.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Like I've run into this quite a few times where it's like I want to order something, but I cannot tell if the website is legit at all.
Right,
And I'm like, okay, is the logo like all pixelated and weird? Does it
right.
look like a real company, or does it look like someone just threw this up in the middle of the night and is selling me someone else's photos?
100%. There's always that risk, but then there's also like, is it going to be nice? Like, is the
Mhm.
quality going to be there? And that's reflected in the quality of the experience of visiting your website or whatever it might
Yeah,
be. So
for
it's worth
sure.
investing in, worth hiring a pro to do this with you. It's a collaboration, really. I think that's another piece that sometimes I know I didn't realize, sometimes people don't realize, is that when you hire a designer, you don't really just like turn everything over to them. It's really a collaboration where you're giving a lot of information about yourself and your business, and then they're interpreting that. And it's a lot of back and forth because obviously it needs to really reflect you and what you're comfortable with, especially if you're a micro business and it's really about you as a personality.
Hmm. Yeah, and definitely take time to like kind of talk to the designers you're considering, because everyone's got a totally different method. Like there are people who will talk to you about your business and then they will go make what they think you need and that's what you get. And then there are people where they expect you to tell them everything, which is not really ideal because you want someone with a little bit of, branding expertise. I try to mix them. Like if you hate the color pink, then we're not going to use pink in your branding, obviously.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, great. So, and you were also one of our experts for our mastermind group program this season. So, if folks don't know, we run mastermind groups January, February, March every year. And so the sign up's in December if you're interested in being part of that. And each group gets to choose what they want to focus on. So we kind of place them in groups depending on their topic area of interest. So we had a group on branding, and you provided the sort of expertise for that group. We have an expert visit each group once and share what they know and answer questions and help people along. So thank you for doing that. We got
That's
great
fun.
feedback, yeah, from all of our groups about their expert, and it really added a lot to the experience this time around. This is our first year doing it with experts, so that was awesome. Um, and if people want, I know you're not on Instagram right now, but if people do want to get in touch, whether it's for merch or it's for brand design, how should they reach out to you and get in touch?
Um, so for my merch, like the stuff that I make, shopwildhunt.com
Okay.
is where all that is. I do have a lot of knitting related stuff. And then Inland Sea Creative is the new branding thing. I'm sort of on a little bit of a hiatus this month while I like rework all of my templates and the new branding. But I will be booking out for like later in the year pretty soon. So
Okay, sounds great. All right, so invest in yourself, make it a goal to get this done for your branding. It's a great, it really pays off, and it's something you can use for years. I mean, you can have your brand package done, and then you could be using it still 5 years from now. I mean, and you can add to it and get some tweaks to it over time, but it really does serve you for a long time.
yeah. Yeah, and I've been exploring sort of ways that I can offer lower cost options because I mean, I was a knitting designer. I know what my budget
Yeah,
was. So right now I do have some brands that are they're ready made, but they're only sold once and they're customized totally to you. So it's like if you like the look of this, I will change it to your name. I will sell it to you. Never gets sold again, and it costs about half as much because it is so much faster for me to make if I'm just
yeah. All
making
right,
things. So
that's
I'm going to be
yeah.
expanding that because I think it's a really good option for, in particular, solopreneurs and craft businesses because it's a win-win. It's faster and easier for me. It's cheaper for you, and like it takes out that element of like, oh, I have to trust the designer and like trust that I'm going to get something I love because you're going to see it and you'll already know if you love it or not. So
Right, that's a great
definitely going to be expanding that this year. So.
That's so smart, and I feel like that's such a great niche to be in because you understand what it was like to be in those shoes. And I mean, I know for years, I mean, I was a blogger. I was sewing and basically just, it was more like a hobby than a business, and it sort of slowly grew. But there was a lot of time there when I could not afford to pay for, some thousands of dollars worth of branding. I really couldn't pay thousands of dollars worth of anything. So I think having something that's sort of semi off the shelf is a great option for people. And that's a great niche for you to be in because you understand those people.
Yeah, I had a lot of bad logos in my knitting days.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, Alex, this was great. Thank you so much for joining us. And it was great chatting with you. And thanks for coming out of your Instagram hiatus to say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, I hope people will follow Wild Hunt and sort of think about getting some branding done.
Yeah, and if you do want to stay in the loop, I've got a newsletter that's linked in my bio, and I've been posting art on Patreon now instead of Instagram. It's free. It's like you don't have to actually pay. You don't actually have to patronize. But so that's where I am during this hiatus.
And you're also great at spotting trends, by the way, I should mention, because you also did a trend report that in your newsletter. That was amazing. And that we then were able to republish as well. So follow Alex's newsletter so you get some updates like that too, because trends are always like a really hot topic.
Yeah, it's almost time to start the fall one.
All right, well, get on that list so you get the fall one when it's ready. Yeah. Thank you so much, Alex. Take care. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. See you later.
Bye.